I still remember the day I married Isabella 3 years ago. She cried tears of pure joy when her parents told her how proud they were of their daughter. But I had no idea those tears would be the last time my wife ever felt genuine love from her own family. 3 weeks ago, Isabella discovered that her parents threw a massive party called the Goodbye Party right after we moved away. They invited everyone in the family except their own daughter. Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from and hit that like button if you believe family should be the safest place in the world. What I'm about to share might make you think twice about that belief. My name is Marcus. I am 25 years old and I work as a software engineer. I met Isabella at a small coffee shop in Denver, Colorado about 5 years ago. She was sitting alone by the window reading a book about pediatric nursing, and something about her quiet presence drew me in. I asked if I could sit at her table, and she smiled this warm, genuine smile that made my heart skip a beat. That was the beginning of everything. Isabella was 24 when we got married. She worked as a nurse at the local hospital, and everyone who knew her would tell you the same thing. She was the kind of person who put others before herself. Every holiday season, she volunteered at the homeless shelter. When her coworkers needed someone to cover their shifts, she always said yes. Her patients loved her because she treated them like family. I fell in love with her because of her sincerity and her enormous heart. When I first met Isabella's family, I thought they were the picture of American success. Her father, Donald, was 58 years old and owned a small construction company. He had this commanding presence, always talking about his latest projects and business deals. Her mother, Patricia, was 55, a homemaker who seemed to be involved in every women's club and charity event in their neighborhood. Then there was Stephanie, Isabella's younger sister, who was 21 and attending college. The family lived in a beautiful large house in the suburbs, the kind with a perfectly manicured lawn and a two-car garage. They hosted barbecues and holiday parties that the whole neighborhood talked about. From the outside, they looked like the ideal family. But during my first visit to their home, I noticed something strange. Stephanie's bedroom was filled with brand new furniture, designer clothes hanging in her closet, and the latest electronics. When Isabella showed me her old room, it was almost bare. A simple bed, a small desk, and a few books on a shelf. The walls were painted a plain white, no posters, no photos, nothing that showed someone had lived there for 18 years. I asked Isabella about it, and she just shrugged and said Stephanie always needed more things. At dinner that evening, Patricia spent almost an hour talking about Stephanie's achievements. How she was the star of her sorority, how she had so many friends, how she was dating a boy from a wealthy family. Not once did she mention that Isabella had graduated top of her nursing class or that she had been promoted twice at the hospital. Donald barely looked up from his plate, and when he did speak, he said something that stuck with me. Isabella always makes everything more difficult than it needs to be. I waited for him to explain, but he never did. Isabella just kept eating, her eyes fixed on her food. When I asked her about it later that night, she gave me a small smile and said, "Every family has its own issues." Our wedding was a modest affair. Isabella insisted on keeping it simple because she wanted to save money for our future. We had about 60 guests, a small ceremony at a local church, and a reception at a nice restaurant downtown. When we asked her parents to contribute, Patricia said they were saving money for Stephanie's education. Donald said the construction business was slow that season. So Isabella and I paid for almost everything ourselves. But on our wedding day, something beautiful happened. During the reception, Patricia walked up to Isabella, hugged her tightly, and whispered, "I'm proud of you." Isabella burst into tears. Later that night, she told me it was one of the few times her mother had ever said those words to her. I believe that our wedding was a turning point. I truly thought her family would become closer to us. 6 months after our wedding, Stephanie turned 21. Patricia organized a massive birthday celebration at one of the fanciest restaurants in Denver. She rented out the entire back room, hired a DJ, and invited over 50 guests. Isabella and I received our invitation 3 days before the party, almost like an afterthought. When we arrived, we found ourselves seated at a table in the corner far from the main celebration. During her speech, Patricia talked for 15 minutes about how Stephanie was the light of her life, her greatest accomplishment, her pride and joy. She mentioned every milestone of Stephanie's life from her first steps to her acceptance into college. Isabella sat beside me, clapping politely, but I could see the sadness in her eyes. Not once did Patricia acknowledge that her older daughter was even in the room. As months passed, I began to see a clear pattern. Isabella was always the one giving, never receiving. Every other weekend, she drove 45 minutes to her parents' house to help with cleaning and yard work. When Patricia needed someone to cook for her book club meetings, Isabella would spend hours in the kitchen preparing food. When Stephanie needed rides to her hair appointments or shopping trips, Isabella was the one who drove her. But when we moved into our new apartment and needed help carrying furniture up 3 flights of stairs, nobody from her family showed up. Patricia said she was busy planning a vacation for Stephanie. I found out later she meant a trip to Miami that cost thousands of dollars. Donald claimed he had urgent work at the company, but that same afternoon, I saw him post photos on social media of himself playing golf with his buddies. Isabella never complained. She just said they must have been really busy. One Sunday dinner at her parents' house, Patricia made an announcement that made my blood boil. She declared that she and Donald had decided to buy Stephanie a brand new car as a graduation gift. A BMW, she specified, because Stephanie deserved something nice after working so hard. I could not help myself. I asked if they had given Isabella anything when she graduated from nursing school 2 years earlier. The table went silent. Patricia laughed nervously and said Isabella can take care of herself. She has always been that way. Donald nodded and added, Stephanie needs more support. She is more sensitive. I looked at my wife. Her hands were clenched under the table, her knuckles white. She did not say a word. On the drive home, she broke down crying for the first time in front of me. She told me she had grown up used to this treatment. She said she stopped expecting anything different a long time ago. That night, Isabella opened up about her childhood in ways she never had before. She told me that as a child, she quickly learned she was the easy one. She never caused trouble, never demanded attention. So her parents focused all their energy on Stephanie, who was more dramatic and demanding. When Isabella earned a full scholarship to nursing school, her parents' only response was good. That means we will not have to pay for it. When Stephanie failed her college entrance exams the first time, the entire family rallied around her. They threw a comfort party, bought her gifts, and told her everything would be okay. Isabella could not remember having a real birthday party since she was 10 years old. After that, birthdays were just another day. Her parents would give her a card, maybe $20, and that was it. Meanwhile, Stephanie's birthdays were annual events, with themes, decorations, and guest lists that grew longer every year. I held my wife that night and promised her that I would always be there for her. I promised to love her the way she deserved to be loved. 8 months after our wedding, my company offered me an incredible opportunity. A position at our Seattle office with a salary nearly double what I was making in Denver. Isabella was excited about the fresh start. She found a nursing position at a prestigious hospital in Seattle, one that specialized in pediatric care, her dream specialty. We spent weeks planning our move, looking at apartments online, imagining our new life in a new city. When we were ready to share the news with her family, we invited them over for dinner at our apartment. I cooked lasagna, Isabella baked a pie, and we set the table with candles. Her parents arrived with Stephanie in tow. We told them about the job offer, about Isabella's new position, about the apartment we had found overlooking Puget Sound. I expected some sadness, maybe even some resistance. What I got was indifference. Patricia sighed and said, "Well, just go then." Donald did not even look up from his phone. Stephanie's only concern was who would drive her to get her nails done now that Isabella was leaving. Not a single hug, not a single word about how they would miss her. Isabella held it together until they left. Then she sat on our couch and stared at the wall for an hour. She told me she was used to it, but I could see that being used to something does not make it hurt any less. We settled into Seattle 3 weeks later. Our new apartment was beautiful with big windows and a view of the water. Isabella started her new job and immediately fell in love with her patients and coworkers. I was thriving at work, taking on exciting projects and making new friends. We were building a life together far from the shadow of her family's indifference. Then one evening, everything changed. Isabella was scrolling through her phone when she suddenly went pale. Her hands started shaking. I asked her what was wrong, and she handed me her phone without saying a word. Her childhood friend Hannah had sent her a series of photos and videos. They showed a massive party at her parents' house. There were balloons, streamers, and a huge banner that read, "Goodbye Party," with Isabella's name on it. I counted at least 40 people in the photos: aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors, family, friends. Everyone was smiling, laughing, raising their glasses in toast. Patricia was standing at the front of the room giving a speech. Hannah had recorded part of it. In the video, Patricia said, "Finally, Isabella has moved on, and now we can focus on what really matters, Stephanie, and our own happiness." The room erupted in laughter. Some people actually applauded. Then Donald raised his glass and announced, "This is a new beginning for our family." More cheers, more applause. They had thrown a party to celebrate their daughter leaving, and they had invited everyone except their own daughter. Isabella sat in complete silence for over an hour after watching those videos. I wanted to grab my phone and call her parents immediately. I wanted to scream at them, demand an explanation, make them feel even a fraction of the pain they had caused. But Isabella stopped me. She said she needed time to process what she had seen. That night, she cried harder than I had ever seen her cry. She told me she always knew she was not their favorite child. She knew they preferred Stephanie, but she never imagined they would throw a party to celebrate her absence. She never thought they would stand in front of their friends and family and say out loud that their lives were better without her. I held her all night, feeling her body shake with sobs, wishing I could take away her pain. The next morning, Isabella woke up with a different look in her eyes. There was sadness there, yes, but also something else: determination. She told me she was done being silent. She was done pretending everything was fine. She was done trying to earn love from people who had none to give. She asked me to support her in what she was about to do, and I told her I would stand by her no matter what. That Sunday afternoon, Isabella video called her family. She knew they would all be together for their weekly dinner. When the call connected, I could see all of them on the screen. Patricia, Donald, Stephanie, and a few other relatives who had stayed after the meal. Patricia looked surprised and asked why Isabella was calling. Isabella remained completely calm. Her voice did not waver. She asked them about the party. Patricia immediately became defensive. She said it was just a small gathering, nothing special. Isabella pulled up the photos and videos on her screen and shared them with the call. She showed them the banner with her name, the dozens of guests, the decorations. She read back Patricia's own words from the video. The room on their end went silent. Isabella spoke clearly and firmly. She said, "I have spent my entire life trying to earn your love. I did everything you asked without complaint. I helped around the house. I drove Stephanie everywhere. I showed up to every family event, even when you barely acknowledged my presence. I never asked for much. I just wanted to feel like I belonged. And your response was to throw a party celebrating the fact that I left." Donald tried to interrupt, stumbling over his words, saying she was misunderstanding the situation. Isabella did not let him finish. She said, "No, Dad. I understand perfectly. For the first time in my life, I understand exactly where I stand with this family." Patricia started crying, accusing Isabella of being unfair and ungrateful. Isabella responded without raising her voice. She said, "You never once threw me a birthday party after I turned 10. You never celebrated my graduation. You never acknowledged my achievements. But you threw a party when I left, and you invited everyone except me. I am not here to yell at you or make you feel guilty. I am here to tell you that I am done. I am done trying to fit into a family that does not want me. I am done giving my love to people who have none to give back." Stephanie rolled her eyes and muttered that Isabella was always so dramatic. Isabella looked directly at her sister through the screen. She said, "Stephanie, I am not angry at you. One day you might understand what I'm feeling. I hope you never have to experience what I have experienced. But I will not keep hurting myself by staying in a relationship where I am not valued." Isabella took a deep breath and delivered her final words before ending the call. She said, "I love you all. I probably always will. But I also have to love myself. And loving myself means walking away from people who celebrate my absence. Goodbye." The weeks following that video call were some of the hardest of Isabella's life. She would wake up in the middle of the night questioning whether she had done the right thing. Some mornings, she would reach for her phone, almost calling her mother out of habit before remembering why she had stepped away. The grief came in waves. Some days she felt strong and liberated. Other days she could barely get out of bed. I stayed by her side through all of it, reminding her that she was worthy of love, that she had made the right choice, that healing takes time. Isabella started seeing a therapist who specialized in family trauma. Week after week, she unpacked years of neglect and emotional abandonment. Her therapist helped her understand that she was not the problem. She had simply been born into a family that did not know how to love their children equally. The favoritism towards Stephanie was not about anything Isabella did or did not do. It was about her parents' own limitations, their own issues, their own inability to see the treasure they had in their older daughter. Understanding this did not erase the pain, but it helped Isabella stop blaming herself. Slowly, my wife began to rebuild. Her coworkers at the hospital became like a second family. A group of nurses around her age started inviting her to dinners, hiking trips, and movie nights. She made genuine friendships with people who appreciated her kindness and her humor. We explored Seattle together every weekend, discovering hidden coffee shops, beautiful hiking trails, and neighborhoods full of character. We took a cooking class together and laughed at how terrible we were at making pasta from scratch. We adopted a golden retriever puppy named Biscuit from a local shelter. Isabella said she wanted to give unconditional love to a creature who would actually appreciate it. Watching her with that dog, seeing her smile return, was one of the greatest gifts of my life. Isabella started keeping a journal. Every night, she wrote down 3 things she was grateful for, and 1 thing she had learned about herself. She filled page after page documenting her journey from pain to peace. She wrote about the day she realized she did not need her parents' approval to be happy. She wrote about the moment she understood that family can be chosen, not just inherited. She wrote about learning to set boundaries without feeling guilty. That journal became a record of her transformation. About 6 months after we moved, Patricia reached out. She sent a text message saying she missed Isabella and wanted to talk. Isabella showed me the message and asked what I thought. I told her it was her decision and I would support whatever she chose. She responded politely but kept her distance. She did not close the door completely, but she also did not throw it wide open. She told her mother that she needed more time and that things could not go back to the way they were. A few weeks later, Stephanie sent a message apologizing. Apparently, she had gotten into a major fight with their parents over money and had experienced a small taste of what Isabella had endured for years. Isabella accepted the apology graciously, but made it clear that rebuilding their relationship would take time and effort from both sides. Through all of this, I learned something important about love and family. I had always believed that family was supposed to be your safe haven, the people who loved you no matter what. But watching Isabella's journey taught me that blood does not guarantee love. Sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones who share your DNA. And sometimes the people who love you most are the ones you meet along the way. The friends who check on you, the spouse who holds you when you cry, the coworkers who invite you to lunch just because they enjoy your company. Family is not just about genetics. Family is about who shows up for you. I am proud of my wife every single day. She had every reason to become bitter, angry, and closed off. Instead, she chose healing. She chose to break the cycle. She chose to love herself enough to walk away from people who did not value her. Today, Isabella is happier than I have ever seen her. Not because her parents changed or because Stephanie became the sister she always wanted, but because Isabella changed the way she saw herself. She stopped waiting for external validation and started finding peace within. If you are watching this and you recognize yourself in Isabella's story, I want you to know something. You are not alone. And you are not crazy for feeling hurt by the people who are supposed to love you the most. If you are in a relationship where you constantly have to prove your worth, where you give and give but never receive, ask yourself this question. Do I deserve more than this? The answer is always yes. You deserve to be loved fully, completely, and without conditions. You deserve people who celebrate your presence, not your absence. Thank you so much for watching and listening to our story. If this touched your heart or made you think, please leave a comment telling me about your experience. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? How did you find your way to healing? I would love to hear from you. And if this story helped you in any way, please hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Your support means the world to us. Wishing you love, peace, and the courage to choose yourself. Until next time, take care of your hearts.